morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, it's time we took a look at the top 10 cards from the recently released, in Japan at least, Rebellion Crash. Now this is, along with VMAX Rising, going to make up our Sword and Shield 2 set, Rebel Clash, and I've already done a top 10 from VMAX Rising, so I will link that one in the description, and we can today have a look at the top 10 cards from this set. And this was a difficult list to do. I think there are 3 out-and-out, no-brainer, phenomenal cards in this set. They are the top 3. Outside of that, I think there are about 20 cards. So there may well be some cards not on this list that you thought should be. They're almost certainly on my shortlist. Ones that just didn't make it, let's go through very quickly now. Nugget is a new item card. If you drew it as your first card for the turn, you draw 3 cards. Use the Oranguru from Sword and Shield so that if you draw it not as the first card of your turn, you can put it back on the top of your deck, and then you're guaranteed to draw it at the beginning of next turn, unless your opponent plays something like a Reset Stamp or a Mani, and then you get to draw 3 cards. Good consistency for decks that can afford the space, but I don't know if it's going to be played enough to make it warrant a space on the top 10 list. Also, Speed Energy. Again, it's to do with drawing cards. It's a new type of special energy. It is a lightning energy. It counts as a lightning energy regardless of who it's attached to. But when you attach it to a lightning Pokemon from your hand, you draw 2 cards. So it's like draw energy, but you draw an extra card. And only on a lightning Pokemon. It's going to make lightning Pokemon good. Also, right, in a Porygon Z deck where you can attach as many draw or lightning energy as you like during your turn, that is going to be a rather phenomenal consistency boost. Copperajah V and VMAX, again, I hated leaving these off the list. I love these cards. Copperajah V for free energy does 90 damage and reduces damage done to you next turn by 30. So combine it with Lucario and Melmetal and Metal Frying Pan, and all of a sudden you've got a 220 HP Pokemon with no weakness that takes 90 less damage from attacks. That is going to be difficult to KO. Similarly, Copperajah VMAX has got 340 HP, tied with Snorlax VMAX for the highest HP we've ever seen, and it can use Metal Frying Pan, so it takes 30 less damage from attacks and has no weakness. In my video, I called it the hardest to KO Pokemon we've got, and yes, I know the weakness isn't great, but you've also got an item card, a tool, a subset of items, which will take away your weakness. Yeah, that's pretty good. And the card that I really hated leaving off the list, the biggest omission as far as I'm concerned, Falinks V. I hated leaving Falinks V off the list. I adore Falinks V. It's got a phenomenal ability that reduces damage done to all of your Pokemon with Falinks in the name by 20. 4 of these out, you take 80 less damage. But it works for Falinks V, and it works for Falinks. And Falinks does 30 damage for each of your Pokemon with Falinks in the name on the bench, which means now you can have a bench full of Falinks and do 150 for a single Twin Energy, while also reducing damage done to you by 80. This is my favourite card from Sword and Shield so far from any of the sets. It is the one I'm most excited to play with. I could easily have put it on the top 10 list, but I figured I'm a little bit too close, so I'll leave it off. In at number 10, a card that's got a real chance to be great. It's Probopass. Probopass, and we had to get a couple of non-Vs on this list, alright? Because seriously, the Vs mostly in this set outweigh them. Probopass for a single metal energy does 10 damage, plus 30 more for each energy cost in your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat cost. We got a Absol that will increase the retreat cost of your opponent's basic Pokemon by 1. And I know it's only basic Pokemon, but the format we're in at the moment is overwhelmingly basic Pokemon. And then we've got Galarian, the new Stadium card, which increases the retreat cost of both active Pokemon by 2. You can, with the exception of a couple of VMAXs here, basically end up KOing anything for a single energy. Plus, you've got that brilliant combo with ADP. It's got a lot of synergy. You're already playing Metal Energy, so you can end up doing an extra 30 damage and taking an extra prize, and this really does add up very, very quickly indeed. This could be good. In at number 9, a pair of Pokemon which I think give phenomenal chances for comebacks. Malamar and Malamar VMAX. I should mention that I've done videos on all of these Pokemon. I'll link them in the description. You see, Malamar V, I'm just not a huge fan of. 2 energy, switch your opponent's active with one of their bench, do 30 to the new active. Meh. 3 energy, 130 plus confusion. Similarly, meh. But Malamar VMAX, 3 energy, 180 damage, look at your opponent's hand and put a card you find there on the bottom of their deck. And as far as I'm concerned, if you combine this with Reset Stamp, you could have the best comeback cards we've had for a long time. Reset Stamp puts your opponent down to a hand size equal to their remaining prizes. So if they've got 1 prize left, you Reset Stamp, 180 damage, and just put the card in their hand on the bottom of their deck. And unless they top deck out of it, you're going to win. Now, this doesn't actually work if your opponent's got multiple attackers set up, but if you can KO their last attacker with this while playing a Reset Stamp, you're probably going to win the game. Even if they've got 2 or 3 cards in hand, you get to choose whichever card you like and put it on bottom of their deck, so the chances are you're going to be able to slow them down really quite nicely. In at number 8, we've got Garbodor. Garbodor's fun. Garbodor's got a terrible attack, but Garbodor's got the ability Toxic Reservoir. Once during your turn, if there is a stadium in play, you may make your opponent's active Pokemon poisoned. But at the moment, there's always a... Seriously, just pay attention when you're playing a game. Just watch. How often in the current metagame is there not a stadium in play? The answer is not very often. And then you get automatic poison. And sure, there's going to be some Pokemon like Toxtricity VMAX, that's coming up in a bit, that do more damage if your opponent's active is poisoned. But similarly, this is just extra damage. You can just use this to always poison your opponent and do a bit of extra damage. If you're a little bit short of a KO, this will get there for you. Just always poison them. It's going to be fun. Then you add in the fact that we've got Toxicroak, which just increases poison by 2, so now it's 3 damage counters between turns. Muck, which says they don't get to evolve or devolve out of poison. And Dust Island, so if they use a trainer card to switch their active, the new active is still poisoned and will take as many damage counters as the old one. And you've got a Pokemon which I think could be teched into a lot of decks, especially considering Ditto Prism Star means you can literally just slip it into basically any deck that's already playing Ditto Prism Star. And in at number 7, the final non-Pokemon V on the list, Coalossal. I like Coalossal. Coalossal's got a terrible attack, but it's got an ability which lets you attach from the discard pile 1 fighting and 1 fire energy to your Pokemon in any way that you like. I've been crying out for fighting energy acceleration for years. Fire energy acceleration, we don't really care. We've got Welder, and Welder's going to survive the next rotation, so we're cool. But fighting energy acceleration, we really, really need. And now we're going to have it because of this. And I know it's a stage 2, but it's basically a new version of Vikavolt. And Vikavolt worked pretty gosh darn well, and it's got a lot of similarities to Rillaboom, and Rillaboom's doing alright at the moment. Make no mistake, this has a chance to make fighting Pokemon actually relevant and viable, even if they've got a high attack cost, which is something that's been keeping fighting Pokemon down, very literally at this stage, for years. In at number 6, we've got Scoop Up Net. Scoop Up Net is an item card that I think has a chance to be over the top phenomenal. You see, Scoop Up Net lets you pick up one of your Pokemon as long as it is not a Pokemon GX or a Pokemon V. You got to discard all cards attached to them, and that's a little bit sad, but you just get to pick up one of your Pokemon. It can be a switch, pseudo-switch. It can heal a Pokemon that's about to be KO'd. It can reuse a coming into play ability on any of your basic Pokemon. The example I've been giving lately is the Mewtwo from Unbroken Bonds, which lets you put a supporter card from your discard pile on top of your deck. That sounds like a pretty fun one. I love this. I think it's a great card, and I think it's going to see play in a ridiculous amount of decks. We've got Chatot coming in this same set, another Pokemon that came close to making the list, but I had to leave it off. Chatot's got Mewtwo's ability, except it's on a coin flip, and the supporter card goes into your hand rather than on the top of your deck. And usually it being on a coin flip would be a bit prohibitive, but with Scoop Up Net you can just keep reusing the ability. It's kind of awesome. In at number 9, Eldegoss V, who's got the same ability as Chatot, not on a coin flip, or the same ability as Mewtwo, but it goes straight into your hand. I.e., when you play it down from your hand onto your bench, you get to grab a supporter card in your discard pile and put it into your hand. Now this is supposed to be, and we were told this in like a release over in Japan, this was supposed to be the next one that's going to see play in every deck. I.e., it went Shaymin, Tapu Lele, Dedenne, and then we end up with Eldegoss. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think Eldegoss is as good or even close to as good as the others. I don't think it's bad, and I think it's going to see a fair amount of play, but Shaymin and Tapu Lele and Dedenne, if they weren't number 1 on their respective top 10 lists, they were good enough to be number 1, but there was just another card that jumped up above. Well, make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, Eldegoss is not there. You could put Eldegoss up to number 4 if you like, but I think putting Eldegoss in the top 3 of this list would be a pretty big mistake. Make no mistake about it, it's still a good card, but it's not quite as good as we may have been led to believe. In at number 4, we've got Toxtricity VMAX. What makes me think this is going to be better than the VMAXs I've either already mentioned or left off the list? Early results in Japan. Early results in Japan, and we've not had many tournaments in Japan. I'm doing this video quite early. We've not had many results in Japan, but already Toxtricity VMAX is looking like it could be a bit of a beast. You see, it's only got 1 attack, but it's also got, a fairly gigantic 320 HP, and the attack for free energy does 160, but if the defending Pokemon is poisoned, you do 240. 240 is a lot, but bearing in mind it's not really 240, it's 240 plus any damage they end up taking from the poison. And there are different ways to poison, though I still contend that the aforementioned Garbodor is the best of them. And then you're doing free energy, just gigantic damage. Bearing in mind, we're talking generally, for free energy, the most damage we've got currently is Tapu Koko V. And Tapu Koko V is good, but you're talking 200 for free energy, not essentially 250 plus potentially a little bit more. And you've got gigantic HP, and you've got electro power, so if you're not quite doing enough damage, you can do a bit more and basically KO anything. You should be KOing free prize Pokemon like tag teams and VMAXs here, which is a little bit silly. And you've got Thunder Mountain to make your attack cost easier to pay, and you've got Tapu Koko Prism Star, which will help. And frankly, ladies and gentlemen, you've got a fairly phenomenal Pokemon. And although I didn't necessarily see this coming, the highest placing Pokemon on the list. And now I think there's a gigantic gap, because I think the top 3 are the top 3 by a bit of a way. In at number 3, we've got that Galarian card I told you about a moment ago. Galarian just increases the retreat cost of both active Pokemon by 2. And it sounds fairly unassuming, but it's actually fairly phenomenal. Because firstly, you've got Pokemon like the previously mentioned Probopass that will do extra damage for each energy in your opponent's retreat cost. But also, we've still got Absol. And Absol is pretty great because it also increases the retreat cost of basic Pokemon by 1. So now you can just take the mick. And I know that a while ago we had Team Aqua's Secret Base, and I know that Team Aqua's Secret Base did not see very much play, but Team Aqua's Secret Base increased the retreat cost of each Pokemon in play by 1 colourless energy. 1 Absol and Galarian is increasing it by 3. And you can keep going. You can play multiple Absol. This is what's going to make cards like Probopass so good, But also, let's not go sleeping on the fact that if you're trying to play some kind of blocking deck and you're trying to strand a Pokemon in the active, increasing their retreat cost by a lot is going to be good. Yeah, sure, they'll be playing some switching cards, but you know what, ladies and gentlemen? It's not actually always going to work. Because they're going to run out of switching cards sooner or later. And when they do run out of switching cards, ha ha ha, ha 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 ha. In at number 2, we've got Capture Energy. Capture Energy is awesome. Capture Energy is a special energy card, and when you attach it to one of your Pokemon, you search your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it directly onto your bench. It's awesome. It's not exactly Cool Energy, because Cool Energy let you get 2 basic Pokemon, but Cool Energy also used your attack. Bearing in mind, we've got rules now whereby on your first turn of the game, if you go first, no attacks, no supporter cards. So you need something to try and get rolling so you're not passing to your opponent with just a single Pokemon out and basically just letting them get an easy KO and then win the game. Well, great news. Now you're not anymore. Now you've got a second Pokemon out and your opponent isn't winning the game, whereas before, your opponent was winning the game. This is awesome. This is really, really good. And I expected to see a lot of play in a lot of decks. Basically, any deck that really does need to try and get all of them their basics out is going to absolutely love this. But in at number 1, it's Boss's Orders, and I don't think it's even remotely close. Boss's Orders, as far as I'm concerned, is the number 1 here, and it's the number 1 by a gigantic margin. It's a reprint of Lysander. Now, it's called Boss's Orders Giovanni, so we are assuming that in the future, we will get more cards called Boss's Orders with one of the other villains, in the same way that Professor's Research Magnolia is just a reprint of Professor Sycamore or Professor Juniper. But now they've fixed it so that they can reprint the same card without having us change the name. That's basically what they're doing here. And this is automatic gusting. At the moment, you can use Custom Catcher, but you've got to play 2 at the same time. You can play Pokemon Catcher, but you've got to flip a heads. You can play Great Catcher, but Great Catcher only gusts up an EX or a GX, not a Pokemon V or a single prize Pokemon. No, ladies and gentlemen, this is a huge card that is going to make a huge difference and make a huge impact on the game. Make no mistake about it, Boss's Orders is the best card in this set, and I really don't think it's close. But that's what I think. I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, and of course, give me a full top 10 list. I'd love you for that. We can be friends. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darned awesome regardless. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.